What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: Deontay Wilder, after avoiding Joshua and getting brutally beaten by Fury, has been called out by Usyk. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing today. All right, so interesting things happening in the heavyweight division. Uh, Latest news is that Deontay Wilder has been called out by Alexander Usyk, who, uh, as far as we know right now, was supposed to be the mandatory for Anthony Joshua, the WBO strap, and it has been reported that he was offered step aside money so that Joshua and the Joshua and Fury fight could happen in 2021. So at first, Usyk didn't want to accept that, but it looks like he has decided to accept the step aside money, and now he's decided that he wants to call out Deontay Wilder, in the meantime. So that's pretty interesting. The question is, will Wilder take the fight or avoid it? Okay, will he avoid the call up by Alexander Usyk? Uh, I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard anything from Wilder. I mean, this just happened recently, so I guess we have to wait and see. But it's pretty interesting. So, I mean, not too long ago, Wilder had made comments that Usyk had better stay, at cruiserweight because if for those of you that don't know, Usyk moved up from cruiserweight to heavyweight, and he has had two fights at heavyweight so far. His last fight was against Derek Chisora, which he won. Which I saw that fight. I wasn't that impressed by his win against Derek Chisora, but it is what it is. So, like I said, Wilder had warned him about moving up, and felt that uh, Wilder had made comments to the effect that he's too small to be a heavyweight, and that he'd probably get knocked out at by one of the heavyweights. Uh, Obviously he's talking about himself, that he would probably knock Usyk out if they were ever to fight. So anyway, fast forward, this is now 2020 going into 2021, and Usyk has decided that he wants to uh, fight Deontay Wilder. So it should be now, as you know, Wilder has been trying to get a third fight with Tyson Fury. Uh, they already had two fights. The first fight was a draw. However, most people thought that uh, Deontay Wilder lost that fight. He had knocked uh, Fury down, and I think it was towards the end of the fight, and Fury got back up, and they continued the fight, and so the fight ended up being a draw. Uh, they fought again the second time, and Wilder was brutally knocked out by Tyson Fury. Actually, the fight was stopped because Wilder's corner threw in the towel, and they had to stop the fight. Okay, because Wilder was in the process of getting a brutal beatdown from Fury, and would have been definitely knocked out without a question. And probably hurt in that fight if it was if it was allowed to continue. So supposedly there was supposed to be a rematch, a third fight. There's been a lot of ongoing controversy about the third fight. Uh, Up till this day, this fight was supposed to happen in 2021, and I believe it was in October or November, but the fight never happened for various reasons. Uh, Supposedly it was network issues, COVID-19 issues, and a host of other so-called issues. But at the end of the day, there was questions about whether Wilder actually wanted that fight or not. Even though he supposedly exercised the rematch clause, the fight really never happened. And Bob Arum came out and said that the rematch clause had expired because the fight never happened when it was supposed to, and so Tyson Fury was going to move on. Deontay Wilder came out after the rematch clause was expired and said that no, he never he expect there should be a third fight, that is the rematch clause is still in effect, and that he wants to fight Fury next. And so that's been an ongoing back and forth between them about whether this fight was supposed to happen or not. At this point now, the fight is in the decision as to whether the fight is going to happen is in mediation, and so we're basically waiting to see what the result of that mediation is going to be. So at this point, there's no guarantee that Wilder is going to win that mediation. Okay, it could conceivably come back and he loses, and then Wilder can just go ahead and fight Anthony Joshua like he wants to do in 2021, which is probably what's going to happen. Okay, more than likely, I would think. So at this point, if that was to happen, then Wilder would be left out in the cold, basically, with no fight, with no third fight with Fury. And so basically, this call out by Usyk kind of give Wilder a new opportunity to earn a title shot eventually against either Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, depending on who win the fight between the two of them. So it would be a good position for Wilder. Okay, he'll be the mandatory. If he beats Usyk, he'll become the mandatory for the winner of the Joshua Fury fight. So we're gonna see if Wilder is gonna accept this call out, or he's gonna avoid it, or duck it. Okay. I don't see why he should. I mean, if I was him, I would definitely take that fight because, I mean, like I said, I saw Usyk fight Derek Chisora, and I wasn't really that impressed by what I saw with Usyk in that fight, and I think that Wilder is a better fighter than Derek Chisora. Okay, so I think that Wilder would give Derek would give Usyk a lot more problems than Chisora did, and he could conceivably knock out Usyk as far as I can see. Because again, I wasn't very impressed with the fight against Chisora by Usyk, and I'm thinking that Wilder would give him a lot of problems because Wilder is much bigger than him. I think Usyk is like 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that, and I think Wilder's about 6'6", so about 3 or 4 inches, height advantage and a reach advantage as well. I'm not sure what the numbers are for the reach advantage, but but then again, you never know because Anthony Ruiz is only 6'2", and he knocked out Anthony Joshua. Okay, and Joshua is like 6'7", something like about 6'7", 6'6", 6'7". So you never know in these things, so anything could happen. But it would be an interesting fight if Usyk and Wilder were to fight, because that would put Wilder right back up in the mix and could be in play for a chance or a shot at the title, against and we talking about undisputed, basically undisputed, because if Joshua was to beat Fury in the fight, he would become undisputed champion. Okay. And if Wilder was to beat if Fury was to beat Joshua, he'd become undisputed champion. So it would be very interesting, if then Wilder would then become the mandatory for the winner of that fight. So it's a great opportunity for Wilder if he's willing to take it. I mean, he can stick around and try to wait for the result of the mediation, but there's no guarantee, like I said, that he's gonna win that mediation. That's why they call it mediation. Okay, so they're gonna mediate and they're gonna come to a decision, and that decision can go against Wilder. But if he beats Usyk, he's definitely in position, for a shot at the title again, and this will be a shot at the undisputed as opposed to him having a shot at the WBC title that Fury has right now. So it would be a great position for Wilder, but we don't know what's going to happen. Wilder hasn't really been making any noise in the heavyweight division since his loss to Tyson Fury, and basically he's just been, trying to get that third fight. I mean, a lot of people out there think that, especially some of these Wilder fanboys and these commentators out there, they're saying that, they all of them are putting the eggs in one basket. They're putting the eggs in the basket of the mediation basket, as far as wanting Wilder to go through with the mediation and try to get the fight with the third fight with Tyson Fury that way. I mean, I've even heard some of them saying that this Usyk call out is a deception, and that Wilder shouldn't take the fight, and that he should go ahead and and force Tyson Fury, force the Tyson Fury trilogy fight. I mean, I'm not sure, what that's all about. Uh, at the end of the day, you know, Wilder was brutally beaten by Tyson Fury in the second fight, and there's no guarantee that the same thing won't happen again. Okay, so it would seem to me that Wilder has a better chance of beating Usyk than he would of beating Fury. I mean, Usyk has never beaten Wilder, and he's a lot smaller than Wilder, and Wilder could conceivably, knock Usyk out, and that would be, and again, that would put him in a great position, for the shot at the undisputed against Joshua or Fury, depending on who win that fight. So, I'm not sure what these delusional fanboys are trying to tell Wilder not to take the fight with Usyk, and that is a deception. It doesn't make any sense because, uh, you know, Wilder fighting Usyk is much better for Wilder than Wilder fighting Fury, who was just giving him a brutal beatdown a couple, last year, almost a year ago now. And so why take a chance of getting brutally beaten again when you can take the easy road and fight Usyk? I mean, personally, I'm thinking that Wilder could probably beat Usyk a lot easier than he could beat Fury. I mean, Fury just beat him down, and at the end of the day, like I said, it's arguable that the fight with Fury, that Wilder had, he lost both fights because, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of, not just me, but a lot of other people, he lost the first fight, even though he was given the draw, okay, and then he got, basically knocked out for the second fight. So, and then a lot of people really don't want to see that fight again because of that, because he got so, because the second fight was so one sided against Wilder. Most people don't really want to see that fight again because they're thinking that it's going to be the same thing in the third time. So that there's that. So if Wilder, if I was Wilder, like I said, instead of putting all my eggs in one basket with the mediation, I would go ahead and take the fight with Usyk, and that would put me in a better position for a mandatory against the winner of uh, the Joshua fight. Now, the Joshua or the Fury, depending on who wins. Now, let's just say that Wilder waits for the mediation and he beats Fury, then he'll get back his belt that that Fury took from him, and so he'll be the WBC champ, and then I guess he could challenge Joshua, you know, he'll be in position to be the one to fight uh Anthony Joshua. But I mean, he had an opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua before for the undisputed, basically, because he had the WBC belt, but he never took that fight. And a lot of people said that Joshua was ducking him, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it was proven that was not the case. And even Wilder was saying Joshua was ducking him, but then he came out later and admitted that, he could have had the fight against Joshua, but he chose to fight Fury instead. I mean, he came out and admitted that. So it was no Joshua ducking him. It was him that decided that he didn't want to fight Joshua. He wanted to fight Fury. Now, why would he do something like that? And not only did he fight Fury, but he fought Fury for less money than he got offered to fight Joshua. This is what Deontay Wilder said. He said he got less money to fight Fury than what he was offered by Joshua, but he took the fight with Fury anyway. Okay, so there it is. So all this talk about Joshua ducking him and this, that, and the other, it was all nonsense. But yet still, even after a while, it came out and admitted that, you still have these people, these delusional fanboys out there talking about Joshua ducked Wilder. So, it is what it is. I mean, these guys are living in fantasy land. So, you can't really put too much stock in what they say, because they're just basically running narratives, and they're going to continue to run the narrative regardless of, the reality of the situation. Even though their man came out and admitted that he ducked, he avoided the fight with Joshua to fight Fury. I mean, why would Wilder do something like that? Obviously because he thought, that he'd have a better chance of beating Fury than beating Joshua. And, even though, because I mean, the fight with Joshua would have been for undisputed. So you turn down the undisputed with more money to fight Fury, who didn't have a belt, and you didn't make as much money. So why would you do something like that? It doesn't make any sense, but that's what he did. And he admitted that he did that. Okay, so, but I think that he thought that he'd be able to beat Wilder a lot easier, because at the time Wilder just came back from like 2-3 years of debauchery in the sense that he hadn't boxed for a while, and he was drinking, jogging, he was fat, out of shape, and he, I guess, Wilder thought he would have been easy pickings, but unfortunately for Wilder, he made a tactical mistake, and he not only did he end up losing his title against Fury, he lost it for less money than he'd have gotten if he would have fought Anthony Joshua, just like he said. So that's basically what the landscape is looking like right now for Wilder. It looks like he can get a shot at earning he can get a chance at earning a shot at the title if he used to fight and beat Usyk, but we don't know if he's going to do that. He might continue to put all his hopes in the mediation, and like I said, I mean, that would make much sense, because at the end of the day, he was already beaten by Fury, and brutally so, and so, his best shot is probably taking the Usyk fight and putting himself in position for the mandatory that way. So, we'll see what happens, but yeah, that's basically what the situation is right now for Wilder. Is he has a chance, but is he going to take that chance, or he's going to continue to wait around and, for a fight that might never happen? Okay. So we don't, I mean, there's a lot of questions about Wilder right now. If he's actually, really wants to fight, okay, and he's just going through the motions with this mediation thing to save face, because, of what happened in the last fight, and the fact that he never really pushed for the rematch, even though he exercised the clause. I mean, the fight never happened. Fury had came out and said that he wanted to fight. He was wondering where, because Joshua, when Wilder went into silence mode for like 9 months. Nobody heard from him. He disappeared. Didn't say nothing, and he basically came out to say something after the supposedly the contract, the rematch clause that expired according to Fury. So as I already said, uh, they're now in mediation about whether that clause actually expired or not, and that we're going to see what the decision is on that. We don't know what it's going to be at this point in time. They're in mediation. So that's where it's standing right now for Joshua. Excuse me, for Deontay Wilder. So, but this Usyk call out give him a great, a great opportunity if he's willing to take it, and so we'll see if he actually takes the opportunity, or he just continues to wait on Fury. Okay, so that's the latest, with the Deontay Wilder Chronicles. So that's about all I have on that. I'm gonna leave it there. This is TBE Boxing. I'm out.